Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Chandra Bhagava Girivaradhari Gopi Chandra Bhagava Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Nandana Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Nandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Chandra Bhagava Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Nandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading today the Srimad-bhagavatam, 9th Canto, 19th chapter, text 17. The chapter is called King Yayati Achieves Liberation. Matras swastra duhitrava Navi viktasano bhavet Balavan indriya kramo Vidvansam apikarshati Matra swastra duhitrava Navi viktatsano bhavet Balavan Indriya Kramo Vidvangsam Apikarshati Matras Swasraduhitrava Navi Viktatsano Bhavet Balavan Indriya Kramo Vidvansam Apikarshati Matra Swasraduhitrava Navi Viktasano Bhavet Balavan Indriya Kramo Vidvansam Apikarshati Matra Swasraduhitrava Navi Viktasano Bhavet Vidvansam Apikarshati Matra Swasraduhitrava Navi Viktasano Bhavet Balavan Indriya Kramo Vidvansam Apikarshati Matra Swasraduhitrava Navi Viktasano Bhavet Balavan Indriya Kramo Vidvansam Apikarshati Matra Swasraduhitrava Navi Viktasano Bhavet Balavan Indriya Kramo Vidvansam Apikarshati Matra Swasraduhitrava Navi Viktasano Bhavet Balavan Indriya Kramo Vidvansam Apikarshati Word for word synonyms. Matra, with one's mother. Sastra, with one's sister. Sumitra, with one's own daughter. La, either. Na, not. Avivikta asamaha, seated closely on one seat. Bhavet, one should be. Balavan, very strong. Indriya Kramaha, the group of senses. Vidvangsam, the very learned, the very learned and advanced person. Api, even. Harshati, agitates. Translation. One should not allow oneself to sit on the same seat, even with one's own mother, sister, or daughter, for the senses are so strong that even though one is very advanced in knowledge, he may be attracted by sex. Repeat after me. One should not allow oneself to sit on the same seat, even with one's own mother, sister, or daughter. For the senses are so strong that even though one is very advanced in knowledge, he may be attracted by sex. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Learning the etiquette of how to deal with women does not free one from the sexual attraction. As specifically mentioned herewith, such attraction is possible even with one's mother, sister, or daughter. Generally, of course, one is not sexually attracted to his mother, sister, or daughter. But if one allows himself to sit very close to such a woman, one may be attracted. This is a psychological fact. It may be said that one is liable to be attracted if he is not very advanced in civilized life. However, as specifically mentioned here, Vidvangsam api karshati, even if one is very advanced materially or spiritually, he may be attracted by lusty desires. The object of attraction may even be one's mother, sister, or daughter. Therefore, one should be extremely careful in dealings with women. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very strict in such dealings, especially after he accepted the sannyas order. Indeed, no woman could come near him to offer him respect. Again, one is warned herewith that one should be extremely careful in dealings with women. A brahmachari is forbidden even to see the wife of his spiritual master if she happens to be young. The wife of the spiritual master may sometimes take some service from the disciple of her husband as she would from a son. But if the wife of the spiritual master is young, a brahmachari is forbidden to render service to her. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gnana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave. So, this same principle, of course, is repeated again and again in so many different ways in the Srimad-bhagavatam. So, Vedic culture, there are certain etiquettes, how to deal with different devotees, how to deal with different people, different things we should do and not do. And they're there for the purpose of protecting us so that we can advance on the spiritual path. Just like the example is given here, there's an etiquette that one Srila mentions here, even if the spiritual master, for a brahmachari, if the spiritual master is a grihastha and his wife is young, then the brahmachari should not actually offer any direct personal service to her, because there's always that chance of attraction. And the nature of the senses is you become a little bit attracted. So if it stays in your mind, it continues to, and you continue to meditate and contemplate, then it's just a matter of time. If we don't cut it, it's just a matter of time that there will be some fall down. And there have been many instances of this, even for those who are practicing on the spiritual path. So the Srimad-bhagavatam warns that we avoid this unnecessary association between men and women. Actually, shortly after I got initiated, right after I got initiated, I mean within a couple of months, Srila Prabhupada sent out a letter. He had a letter sent to all the at that time existing ISKCON temples. We only had a few at that time. This was back in, would have been 1971. So there were a few temples here and there. But he sent as he would have his secretary send letters with certain specific important information that he would send it directly to each temple. And so there was one letter like that. Srila Prabhupada was saying, first he said, for those who are, there were several points. One of the points was, for those who are not initiated, if you address them, of course those who are not initiated, yeah, you would say, Bhakta so-and-so. It's kind of like something we've done for years, but it was not always done like that. You just called everyone by their uninitiated name. But Srila Prabhupada introduced the practice that if someone is not initiated, then you address them as Bhakta so-and-so or Bhaktin so-and-so, like that. And then he also introduced the principle that for the men at least, addressing women, it was mother so-and-so. Don't have to say Mataji, same principle. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada introduced that back in 1971. I think there were some other points too. I don't recall exactly, but those 2 points were made in that particular letter. And of course, the etiquette is there. If you're identifying, if you're dealing with a man's dealing with a woman and actually thinking in terms of mother, then it's not. It helps to keep the consciousness. Krishna conscious. Helps to keep our consciousness in Krishna consciousness. Outside the outside of Krishna consciousness, the dealings between men and women are very loose, and of course the end result of that is a lot of illicit sex, and illicit sex leads to many problems, including abortions and broken families, and many problems come about because of that. So in spiritual life, until we become totally 100% pure and totally 100% attracted to Lord Krishna, then we need to follow these different rules and regulations and guidelines, right? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, actually he describes in his book, one of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books, called the Chaitanya Shikshamrita, he's given many instructions. Actually, Srila Prabhupada said that particular book is one of the very, very especially important books. That and Jagat Dharma are two especially important books of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And so and in that book, in the end of the book, the summary of that book, he broke down the materialistic people, means those who are not dedicated to devotional service. He said there are 4 kinds of materialistic people. 4 kinds. Does anyone know what those 4 kinds of materialistic people are? According to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. No one. Okay, so there's 4 kinds. He broke it down into 4 categories. It says grossly material conditioned souls are 4 types. One type is those without morality and also who do not believe in God. That's one type. They no morality and also do not believe in God. The second type is those who have some morality, but they also do not believe in God. And then there's a third type. Second type is with morality, but do not believe in God. Third type is with morality, and now who believe in God, but still they're materialistic. And the fourth type is with those who have a distorted belief in God, like the impersonalists. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, what he refers to as morality. Morality means, and in his writings, morality means we would call it etiquette, or we would call it. Well, I'll give the example as we go along. But basically, he said that without morality and without belief in God, it's basically there's two types. There's one type is basically just animals. Animals there's no question of morality, and there's no question of they have no concept of God either. And then the other type of without morality and without belief in God are Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave the example of the Aborigine tribes, for example. Aborigine tribes. So because the Aborigine tribes, they basically their whole life is they're either afraid of something or they act on what's essentially feels good to do it. They have no real understanding of God. Maybe appreciation of something greater. Maybe the sun is bright, or the moon is bright, or maybe there's a loud thunder. These things that they're afraid of. And then there are those with morality. Morality means that you have you think about something, that you think about how to help others. Okay, maybe in society we think, okay, I'm in a, maybe some people are not in as good a material situation as me, so that I'm thinking about how to do some welfare work or something. This is a kind of morality, but they're in this category. They're thinking, how can I do something and try to do things. I do some welfare work. I feel good about this, but I don't actually believe in God. In fact, this mentality is basically demoniac mentality. The Bhagavad Gita, there's a description of the divine and demoniac, and the demoniac. So much wealth do I have today? I will get more according to my means. Right? I've killed my enemy, and my other enemies will be killed. I will give some charity. I'll feel perfect, and because of that, I'll feel perfect, powerful, happy because I'm giving some charity. But they don't actually believe in God. They're just because they're feeling good. I gave something. I did something. But it has nothing to do with God. So that's the second category. Third category is you have some morality, but you actually believe in God. And so some people believe in God, and that's it, and it's a good thing. If you believe in God, you naturally have a. If you believe in God, and you have some tendency towards morality, then you'll be a better person just because you believe in God. Of course, he goes into a lot of detail. There's several pages. It's very much a summary here. And then ultimately, there are those who have some kind of belief in God, but they come to the point of impersonal realization or impersonal understanding of God, Mayavadi philosophy. Okay. Where is it from? It's from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's book called the Chaitanya Shikshamrita. Chaitanya Shikshamrita, he wrote so many books, but Srila Prabhupada specifically mentioned two of them that were especially important. That's one of them, and another one is the Jaiva Dharma. And in that book, it's right at the end, very, very end of the whole book, there's a summary, several pages. It's like a summary of the concepts that were throughout the book, and that's where this is from. So I cannot tell you all, from memory all the details of it, but basically what he did was he broke it down. He broke down those four categories, and he said, okay, here's the first category. Here are the qualities of the person. Here are so many things about that first category: no morality, no belief in God. But it says, but then if someone else on a little higher level of realization comes along, and they would say, oh, but this is not very good. You should have some belief in God. You should have some morality. But this all goes for several pages, and then the third, and then after that, then he goes on to describe how the third level it would be coming and giving arguments defeating the second level. The third level means that you have morality and you do believe in God. You can have morality, just like Varnashram. Right? You can have ordinary varnashram, rules and regulations and so on. And then you have Daivi varnashram, which actually means which means it's God conscious. I mean, it means it's not just a social thing. It's actually Daivi Varnashram, so that which means the whole society, if they're following it, becomes Krishna conscious in due course of time. So, and then the fourth level, they have some belief in God, but their belief in God is impersonal. God is the white light, the Brahma Jyoti. So, but that is also not good. And then after that, then he gives the actual, the real level of morality and love of God, and explains in detail how that takes us all the way to realizing Krishna in his original form. So that's what that is. I think everyone's a little tired today. Are there any questions, comments? Maybe we can try to reciprocate here. So,
third type is the living God has morality. Right?
yes.
How they materialize God?
Yeah, so some people believe in God, some people believe in the existence of God, but they don't actually have any knowledge of how to serve God. And some people think, okay, there's a God out there somewhere, and because there's a God, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, if you actually believe in God and you also have some feeling of morality in as far as your dealings with others, let me do something good for others, let me consider the wealth of when we do, go back up. The previous one, the morality basically is very little, and there's just no belief at all in God. So if you believe in God and you have some social feeling, some feelings of morality, then your belief in God will increase your feeling for God. If I'll do better welfare work because I'm pleasing God. It's a higher level. So, but then it's not, it doesn't. But still there's higher because it's not a totally selfless service to God. So then, ultimately, all four of these that I listed are different, varying levels of materialism, from the most gross animal level up to the highest, which is actually just impersonal realization.
Why is the personal realization higher? Just with God.
Well, at least in that level, you're finally understanding that I am spirit soul. Before that, there's no real understanding. I mean, before that, you're just understanding that I'm this body. Yes. So fourth level, you at least understand that I am spirit soul, but your understanding of God or what is superior to me is impersonal. So of course that is also a fallen condition. In fact, Srila Prabhupada said, he was asked, there was a question at one point in time in ISKCON even. Did we fall for the Brahma Jyoti? I mean, why are we here if we were in the spiritual world and everything was so nice, right? So the question was, did we fall for the Brahma Jyoti? And Srila Prabhupada, he said, no, we were in the spiritual world and we fell. He said, falling down means you fall from a Krishna conscious position. Falling down means you fall from a Krishna conscious position. Being merged in the Brahma Jyoti, at some point we were. It's not a Krishna conscious position. That's simply it's a little higher level of realization than just a gross materialist engaged in sense gratification. But it's also a fallen condition. So Srila Prabhupada says we didn't fall from the Brahma Jyoti originally. We fell from the spiritual world. And why do we fall from the spiritual world? It's about this causeless reason. It wasn't that there was Maya in the spiritual world, because there's no Maya, no material Maya in the spiritual world. So it wasn't like Maya tricked us into there. But we have free will. We have free will, right? So we're in the spiritual world, and we choose to. Maybe I want to. Why is Krishna getting all the attention? I don't know. So we're thinking, why did? Maybe I'm curious about what's going on in that material world. Because you know, in the spiritual world, you're also aware of. You have knowledge of everything. So if you're in the spiritual world and for some reason you think, oh, maybe I can enjoy a little bit there. You know, it all takes a little thought, a little contemplation, which we do have free will. We never lose our free will. So we can think like that, and immediately we're gone. Very strict. That's in the spiritual world, everyone is pure devotee of Krishna. If you have some other desire, then okay, you want to enjoy separately, go to the material world. You can be God there, right? So but Srila Prabhupada also says that if having once gone, we may wonder, okay, if I fell from the spiritual world at some point in my existence, and I've been here for how long we've been here? We've been through this millions, billions, trillions of maybe creations. We don't know. So if I've gone through all that, I go back to the spiritual world. What if I make a mistake? Things go wrong, I get thrown back here for another 10 zillion creations. But Krishna says, he promises, having once returned to my eternal abode, you will never take birth in this miserable material world again. So you won't fall in the Maya, and won't fall down from the spiritual world. Again, we fell, but we will not fall again. So once, it's like ideally, it's not the actual reality. In the material prison system, right? You go to jail and go to prison for some crime, and the idea is that by the time you get out, you're reformed. You're a good citizen. You're in good consciousness. You're beneficial for the society. That's ideal. But of course, it doesn't really work that way. A lot of times, people come out worse than they went in because you're associating with criminals the whole time. But in the material world, which is also a prison, So in the material world, the prison, we don't get out until we are actually reformed. That means we have to come to the point of pure love of Krishna. 100% pure love of Krishna. And then once having gone back to the eternal spiritual world, we will not take birth again in this material world. Okay. Unless, of course, Krishna wants us to come here to preach or something, or we develop that desire to just come here and preach to help others. But we wouldn't at that point be in any material. We wouldn't be in Maya. It would not be Maya. We would be here for the purpose of preaching Krishna consciousness or doing something for Krishna's pleasure, but not for falling, not falling into the Maya of becoming a materialistic person. So the main thing right now is we become very serious about our spiritual life and don't unnecessarily contemplate the objects of the senses, and then by going and then chant Hare Krishna and become serious in the Krishna consciousness and go back home, back to Godhead. And it's not, Prabhupada always says, it's not difficult. He says, it's not difficult. You just chant Hare Krishna. Chant Hare Krishna, you avoid these sinful activities, you try to engage your life in very nice devotional service. The devotional service is very nice. You try to engage yourself in that way. And if we can do that till the end, then we can go back to the spiritual world. And if somehow we don't do it continue that to the end, what did Arjuna asked this question? Do we know what the question is regarding coming back to not completing your practice of yoga? Arjuna is asking what happens to the yogi who he gives up the practice of yoga, even before he gives up the practice of yoga. He does not complete the practice of yoga during his lifetime. So what happens? Is he just like his words were a riven cloud? I'm not sure what riven means, but I guess a cloud that's fallen apart. It's not like, is he just like that? In other words, if I practice yoga, am I going to be, everything just going to be lost if I don't complete it? The Krishna says, no. There are two possibilities. If you're practicing yoga and you haven't completed, then your next birth, he says if you practiced a little bit and on the path, you started the practice of yoga, but you've given up, then you may take birth in a family of it says a rich aristocratic family, or you may actually go to the heavenly planets to enjoy for a long time. In terms of Earth years, there's a lot of years in heavenly planets. So you can do that, and then you of course have to come back down to the material world after you had a chance to enjoy in a very nice way, because maybe yogi gave up the path of yoga because he wanted some more material enjoyment. So he doesn't complete, but he goes to the heavenly planets and there's so much material enjoyment there, right? So much material enjoyment. And when the way the material world works, you get so much of material enjoyment when you get to that point that you feel I'm still not satisfied. I want something better. So then he comes back down to the earth, where he's not so distracted by the high level of material enjoyment, and maybe continues on the path of yoga. And that was one thing. And then the other opportunity that the Lord Krishna says in that verse is that you practice yoga for a long time, but you still somehow you didn't complete your practice, but you were well on the path. then he says you could take birth in a family of devotees, high-class Brahmana family. It basically means family of devotees. And then that way, from your very birth, you are getting the opportunity to become Krishna conscious. You grow up, you're taught to be vegetarian, you're taught to be a devotee of Krishna, you're taught the only thing you're eating, at least as long as you're young, is Krishna prasadam, like that. And in that way, there's all opportunities for becoming Krishna conscious and finishing up the business in this lifetime. But better that we, the lifetime we're in now, we don't think, I had a lot of prasadam, but maybe I'll just slack off right now and I'll get a good birth and enjoy a little bit more. We can do that. We shouldn't do that. We should be very serious and finish up our business completely in this lifetime. It's only, years pass by very quickly, and if we just keep chanting, keep following the principles, and keep on the path of Krishna consciousness, and go and do that until the end of our physical life, then what happens? We can go back to the spiritual world, and then we don't have to take birth again in this material world at all. Anyway, there's a point. Any other questions? Comments?
The question is why.
In the instance where Lord Chaitanya helped a lady to see the deity, how can we understand his example in the proper context? You know that the pastime? Lord Chaitanya was in the Jagannath temple. I think it was the Jagannath temple. There's and there was one lady that was very, very eager to see Lord Jagannath. Very eager. She climbed up on his shoulders. So, but he didn't. And of course, he was sannyasi. So you normally, if some sannyasi, so a lady climbs up on the shoulders of a sannyasi, then what are you doing? But actually, he didn't mind because he saw that she was so eager to see Lord Jagannath. Maybe there were crowds of people and she couldn't see over them. Maybe she was small and short, so she couldn't see. So she actually climbed up and got up on his shoulders so she could see Lord Jagannath, because she was so eager to see the Lord. But Lord Chaitanya, of course, understood very much. He understood what this lady was doing, and understood her her intention. He understood her intention, and so he didn't mind. But normally, it would be for a materialistic mentality, then it would be kind of unusual. But that was the reason for that was actually the example that was shown there. That Lord Chaitanya didn't mind it because he understood her. Actually, she had love for Lord Jagannath, and he accepted that. Okay, I think it's time. We'll end now, and tomorrow is continue Srimad-bhagavatam, right? Srila Prabhupada ki jai.